Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're wrestling with a pretty fundamental paradox. It's this concept that sits right at the intersection of, well, pure chance and data science.
Right.
How do you actually exploit randomness? And we're not talking about lucky charms or, gut feelings. We are going deep into a very specialized, data-driven system for roulette.
Yeah, it's called the sleeping giant strategy.
The sleeping giant.
I like it. And our source material for this is the DE2D strategy guide. Its whole mission really is to just take emotion completely off the table.
Okay.
So we're going to unpack its main idea, which is targeting something they call distribution lag.
Distribution lag.
Yeah, specifically in those 1 to 2 payout sectors, so the dozens and the columns.
Okay, let's break that down. Roulette, it's the ultimate random number generator, right? But
yeah.
the system seems to argue that even though the next spin is totally unpredictable, randomness itself is clumpy.
It is. It doesn't distribute evenly over short periods.
So what does that clumpiness actually look like mathematically? And why is it the whole foundation for this strategy?
Well, it's the classic difference between theory and reality. In theory, you look at any of the 3 dizers, 1 to 12, 13 to 24, 25 to 36.
Right.
Each one should hit about 32.4% of the time.
So roughly once every 3 spins.
Exactly, on average. But what actually happens in the short term is that one of those sectors can just vanish. It goes cold. It just doesn't hit for 10, 15, sometimes even 20 spins.
And that disappearing sector, the one that's statistically due, but just refuses to show up.
Yeah.
That's our sleeping giant.
That is the sleeping giant. And the whole system is built on patience. You're not betting on the volatility.
Yeah.
You're waiting for this very specific statistical anomaly, this lag, to actually appear.
And then you ambush it.
You ambush it right before the wheel.
Yep.
Sort of tries to correct that imbalance.
Okay, now this is where I think most people make the big mistake. They see a sector miss 4, maybe 5 times, and they think, okay, it's due. That's the gambler's fallacy in a nutshell.
It is.
But this strategy says, let those first 5 misses go. You're waiting for a precise, data-validated, what they call a weight threshold.
Yeah.
So what is that number? And why is waiting so critical?
The absolute central rule of this system is to wait for the data to prove the cold streak is real.
Okay.
And the default, the mathematically optimized trigger point, is 10 misses.
10.
10. You do absolutely nothing. You just wait, you watch, you track until one single dozen or one column has missed 10 consecutive times.
You're letting randomness prove the giant is asleep before you put a single dollar down.
Exactly.
10 misses. That feels like an eternity at a fast table. But
yeah.
we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the thing that throws everyone off.
The zero.
The zero. So if I'm tracking misses on, say, the second dozen, and the ball lands on 0, what happens to my count? Does it reset the streak?
This is such a critical point. The guide calls it the green sniper for a reason.
I like that.
Because it kills those bets. But in this strategy, a 0 absolutely counts as a miss.
Wait, hold on. Why? If we're just tracking the distribution of the dozens, isn't a 0 like a separate event? It shouldn't really affect the dozen streak, should it?
You would think so, but you have to shift your perspective. You're not tracking the wheel's performance. You're tracking the performance of your potential bet.
Oh, okay.
If you had bet on dozen 2 and a 0 hits, you lose.
Right, you lose.
So for the purpose of starting your betting, 0 is just another number that is not your target. It's just another miss. It adds to that distribution lag for that dozen.
I see. So if the second dozen has missed 9 times, and that 10th spin is a 0, that just confirms the 10 miss threshold. You've met it.
Correct.
You don't fall into that trap of thinking, oh, a 0 hit, the streak's over, back to square one. That 0 is part of the cold streak.
It is. It's just one more spin where the sleeping giant refused to wake up. And it moves you closer to the moment where the probability has finally tilted enough for you to start the attack.
Which brings us perfectly to the attack plan, because waiting is just the first step. Once that trigger lights up at 10 misses, you need a betting strategy that manages risk really, really precisely.
Absolutely.
If you're already starting your betting in a 10-spin hole, you need a plan that ensures when you finally win, you recover all of it, plus a profit.
And this is where the Fibonacci progression comes in. It's the engine of the whole system. As soon as that trigger fires, the betting starts using that sequence. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on.
Now, most people have probably heard of the martingale system, which is super aggressive. You just double your bet after every loss. So why is that approach, which seems like it would recover your losses fast, Why is that rejected here for the slower Fibonacci?
Well, martingale is. It's a one-way ticket to blowing up your bankroll if you hit what they call a long tail, a really long losing streak.
Because you're doubling.
You're doubling every time. Your bankroll needs just explode.
Yeah.
A short, 7-loss streak can demand 64 units on your next bet. And a lot of tables won't even let you bet that high. Martingale is built for high-risk, immediate recovery.
And Fibonacci.
Fibonacci is built for endurance.
Okay.
Because you're only increasing the bet to the sum of the previous two, the climb is just much gentler. You can survive way longer losing streaks on the same bankroll.
And you still recover everything.
That's the genius of it.
Yeah.
When you do win, the payout, which is 2 to 1, is just enough to cover all your previous losses in that sequence and give you a profit. It slows the burn.
Endurance over aggression. That feels vital.
Yeah.
Let's walk through a real scenario to make this less abstract. Say we're targeting dozen 2 and we just hit our 10 miss threshold.
Okay. Spins 1 through 10. The giant is asleep. Now we attack.
Spin 11.
Yeah.
This is attack 1. Fibonacci starts at 1 unit, so we bet $1 on dozen 2.
And the result
Yeah.
lands on 5. That's in dozen 1. So a loss. Total invested so far, $1.
The giant is still sleeping. Okay, spin 12, attack 2. Still $1. Bet $1 on dozen 2.
Result 33. Dozen 3. Another loss. Now you're in for $2. The pressure's building a little.
Okay, spin 13. This is attack 3. The sequence now moves to the next number, which is 2. We bet $2 on dozen 2.
And the ball lands on 14. That's a win.
A win.
14 is in dozen 2. You get a 2 to 1 payout on your $2 bet, so you get $6 back.
Okay, now for the crucial math. Over those 3 betting spins, we spent a total of $4. 1 plus 1 plus 2.
Right?
We won 6. That's a net profit of $2. You've completely recovered all the losses from the entire betting sequence.
Exactly. You survived the 10 spin wait, you survived the 3 losing bets, and you still walked away with a net gain.
You ambushed the correction?
The calculated patience paid off. You used a mathematically contained progression, and now you're back to 0 risk, ready for the next signal.
That sets up this next part perfectly, which is, I think, the hardest thing for any person to actually do.
The psychological part.
The data and the psychology of waiting. They call that do instinct, Betting early at 5 misses, the most expensive mistake in gambling. Why is that emotional mistake so costly?
Because it forces you to spend your most important resource, your bankroll, during what's essentially just statistical noise. I mean, the system's authors, they claim this data is based on an analysis of 5 million spins.
5 million. Wow.
And in that huge data set, they saw that dozens regularly, frequently, reliably, go to sleep for 7, 8, 9, or 10 spins. It's common.
So if I start betting at 5 misses, I'm basically just throwing my money at the most common kind of volatility. It's not a real anomaly yet.
Exactly. You're fighting a battle you don't even need to fight. The data says streaks of 6 or 7 are just standard. By the time you get to 10 misses, your betting progression has already been eaten up by 5 or 6 steps, which just kills your ability to survive the really long streaks, the long tails.
That's a huge insight. So the genius is accepting those first 10 losses as just data. They're not failures.
They're just data points.
But the challenge then is, how do we know 10 is the sweet spot? The guide is obviously promoting its own system, so the host in me has to ask, how do we know this isn't just confirmation bias?
That's a fair question and a necessary one. What the source does is provide a comparative framework using their own data. They show you the trade-off.
Okay.
They analyze the frequency and severity of losing streaks across 3 different entry points, which kind of demonstrates the mathematical optimization they're claiming.
Let's break those down. The 3 risk profiles from the 5 million spin analysis. What's the high-risk entry?
Risk profile 1 is what they call the gambler's entry. You start betting at 6 misses.
And that's high risk. Red flag. Why?
Because streaks of 6 happen all the time. If you commit your bankroll that early, you expose yourself to those long-tail streaks of 30 or more misses, which happen just often enough to guarantee you'll blow up your bankroll eventually.
We're playing a high-frequency, low-margin game.
Precisely.
Okay. Then there's the super conservative option.
Right. Risk profile 2, the safest entry. Waiting until a dozen has missed 12 times.
12 misses.
This is low risk, green flagged. 12 misses is a truly significant statistical deviation. The probability of that streak continuing drops way off after that point.
But the trade-off is?
Frequency. You might sit at a table for hours waiting for a sector to miss 12 times. You're extremely safe, but you're almost never playing.
Which brings us to their preferred spot. Risk profile 3, the sweet spot, entering at 10.
The medium optimized risk profile.
What makes 10 that perfect balance, specifically for survival?
It's the intersection of probability and your bankroll's capacity. At 10 misses, the chance of the correction hitting soon is high enough to justify the risk of the Fibonacci progression. But here's the key detail that anchors the whole strategy.
The bankroll survival metric.
Exactly.
Let's talk numbers. What kind of bankroll do they recommend to actually endure this?
The sources are very specific on this. With a standard $1,100 bankroll using a $1 base unit, entering at 10 misses lets the player survive a total losing streak of roughly 25 misses.
Wait, 25. So that means even if the dozen misses the first 10 waiting spins, and then misses 15 more spins while we're betting, we're still in the game.
You're still in the game. That's a remarkable endurance.
That really is.
You have your 10 free losses from waiting, plus about 15 steps deep into the Fibonacci sequence before you hit the ruin point of that $1,100 bankroll.
And the data supports that number.
Their data validation is that in the 5 million spin sample, streaks that went longer than 25 misses were exceedingly rare. So by waiting for 10, you maximize your chance of catching that correction before you run out of runway.
The psychological battle, though, it must be immense. You're just sitting there doing nothing for 10 spins. You're watching what could be winning opportunities just pass you by.
That is the highest hurdle.
If you had jumped in at spin 6, you might have won, but you're deliberately holding back.
And that's what destroys players. The system needs iron discipline to trust the math over your gut. That feeling of, oh, I should have bet, after a win happens on spin 7, that's the killer.
Right.
The source just repeats it over and over, let those small, frequent wins go, wait for the high probability trigger, because every time you bet early, you're just burning the fuel you need to survive those rare but catastrophic long tails.
You're intentionally ignoring the noise. You're saving your resources for the moment the wheel has proven it's behaving abnormally.
You're ambushing the correction, not chasing the volatility.
And that's the core takeaway, isn't it?
It is. The whole system is built on reframing what a losing streak means. The initial losses aren't your problem. They're just confirmation that the conditions are finally right to attack.
This has been a really comprehensive deep dive into how the sleeping giant strategy tries to strip emotion out of a high-risk situation. We've really focused on the mechanism, using huge data analysis to find a provable statistical anomaly, that 10-miss threshold, and then managing the attack with the slow burn, high-endurance Fibonacci progression.
The whole essence of it really is in those two things. Respecting that weight threshold and understanding that you have to trade immediate opportunity for ultimate survival.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Think about those 3 entry points we discussed: 6, 10, and 12 misses.
Yeah.
They really illustrate this fundamental trade-off that goes way beyond a casino table. It's the choice between risk tolerance and frequency of opportunity.
It really is.
I mean, waiting for the safest trigger at 12 misses means less risk, but you could be sitting on a decision for hours, maybe days.
Yeah.
Betting early at 6 gives you constant action, but it invites ruin when that inevitable long tail shows up.
Right.
So think about that optimization principle, waiting for a high probability trigger versus just getting in the game sooner, the next time you're looking at a slow investment or deciding when to commit resources to a big project.
It's the knowledge that patience isn't just a virtue, it's a measurable mathematical advantage.
That's a wrap on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
All right, let's dive into a roulette strategy that pretty much flips a common gambling instinct right on its head. It's called the sleeping giant Fibonacci strategy, and it's all about playing with discipline, not just impulse. Come on, you know the feeling, right? You see a section of a board that's gone cold, and your brain just starts screaming, it's gotta hit soon. You feel that magnetic pull to jump in, thinking, this is it, it's due. And that right there, that gut feeling, is what this system calls the single most expensive mistake in all of gambling. It's a powerful idea, and yeah, it's completely counterintuitive. So let's actually put a name to this thing. It's called the "it's due" fallacy. And honestly, just understanding why it's a trap is the first big step to beating it. Here's the thing. Short streaks are totally 100% normal. A dozen going cold for 5, 6, even 7 spins, that's just what randomness looks like. It's just statistical noise. If you jump in and start betting then, you're not fighting a trend. You're literally fighting math itself. And that's a battle you're gonna lose. So if we're not supposed to listen to that "it's due" feeling, what's the alternative? Well, you do the hardest thing you can do in a casino. You wait. You wait to wake up the sleeping giant. This is where patience completely takes over from impulse. And this is the key difference, you guys. We're not guessing anymore. A sleeping giant isn't some hunch. It's a specific, defined statistical event. We're waiting for the wheel to create a genuine statistical anomaly, something that's actually worth our time and money. The whole philosophy boils down to these 3 simple patience steps. First, you identify the anomaly. Second, you wait for a very specific trigger. And only then, third, do you attack with a preset plan. There's no emotion, no guesswork, it's just a clean, structured ambush. So what does that attack plan actually look like? Well, it's not just about when you decide to bet, it's about how you bet. And this system uses a pretty famous mathematical sequence to do it. All right, here are the nuts and bolts. Your target is always going to be a single, dozen, or column. The trigger, and this is crucial, is waiting for 10 straight misses. Once that happens, you start betting using the Fibonacci sequence, where each new bet is the sum of the 2 before it. So you start with 1 unit, then 1, then 2, then 3, 5, and on and on. But wait, why Fibonacci? Why not the more famous martingale system, where you just double your bet every time you lose? While it's all about managing your risk, martingale is like a high-stakes sprint that can wipe out your entire bankroll in a heartbeat. Fibonacci, on the other hand, is a slow burn. It's way less aggressive, and it's built to survive those long, frustrating losing streaks, while still making sure you recover all your losses plus a profit when you finally win. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right now. What about the 0, that little green pocket that messes everything up in European roulette? Does it reset the count? The answer is actually super simple and logical. Since your bet is on a dozen, a 0 is a loss for you, right? So it just counts as another miss. It doesn't break the streak, it actually continues it. It gets you 1 spin closer to that 10 miss trigger. Okay, enough with the theory. It all sounds good, but let's walk through a real-world example to see exactly how this ambush plays out at the table. So picture this. You're at the table just watching. For 9 spins in a row, the ball lands in either dozen 1 or dozen 3. Dozen 2 is ice cold. Then, on the very next spin, the ball lands on 0. Well, according to our rules, that's a miss. So bingo, we now have 10 confirmed misses. The trigger has been pulled. It's go time. We step in and place our first bet. 1 unit. Let's just say $1 to keep it simple. And nope, it's a miss. The ball lands in dozen 1. The giant is definitely still sleeping. No panic, this is part of the plan. We follow the sequence. The second number in Fibonacci is also 1, so our second bet is another $1. And another loss. This time, dozen 3 hits. We're now $2 in the hole. And poor dozen 2 has missed a whopping 12 times in a row. Okay, now the progression really kicks in. The next number in the sequence is 2, so our bet goes up to $2. And there it is. The ball lands on 14. Dozen 2 finally wakes up. That's the win we were patiently waiting for. Now let's do the math, because this is the most important part. We spent a grand total of $4 on those 3 bets. Our winning $2 bet paid out 2 to 1, which means we got $6 back. So we cover the $4 we spent, and we walk away with a $2 net profit. The system did its job. It absorbed the losses and still came out ahead. So that magic number 10. Why 10 misses? Why not jump in at 6 or wait until 12? Well, that trigger point wasn't just pulled out of a hat. It's based on a massive data analysis. This chart pretty much says it all. See that big red bar on the left? That's the risk you're taking if you jump in at only 6 misses. You're still deep in that random noise territory. Now, waiting for 12 misses is much safer, but you might be waiting all night. See that yellow bar in the middle at 10 misses? That's the sweet spot. It's the best possible balance between finding an opportunity and staying safe. And here's the hard data to back it up. If you're betting with a $1 base unit and you use that 10 miss trigger, you should have a bankroll of around $1,100. Why so much? Because that gives you enough firepower to survive a crazy losing streak of about 25 total misses. An event like that is so statistically rare, it almost never happens, which gives you the absolute best chance of walking away a winner.
So, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. This strategy isn't about chasing streaks or trying to guess what's due. It's about having the incredible patience to wait for a real statistical opportunity to show up, and then having the discipline to ambush it with a plan. The only question left is, do you have the discipline to wait?